Hello, let's walk through another Bella Donna Patch. This one is called Clockworks. So this one also has a typo, and I'm going to kind of show you the options and go through it because, as it's documented, it doesn't sound anything like her sample track. So let's start with matching our knobs. I've kind of already done it because I had to figure out why things weren't working right. So modulation oscillator is the square waveform, and cutoff is all the way up. Rate is variable. We'll show you some things with that. We're at 8 feet and 4 feet on the oscillators, and our second oscillator is tuned up a fifth, and pulse waves for both. On your grandmother, this knob may be slightly different. You just want it to sound like a fifth, so that's what we're going for, and you can tune it appropriately. Oscillators, my volumes didn't match hers. I kind of had to fiddle with this to find the right sound here. We are going to be using the high pass filter, and we're using cutoff. So these are going to be variable too, depending on which option you go with. Resonance is all the way up. Envelope is like 3 o'clock-ish, 2:30. Our attack and decay and release are all pretty long, with our sustain down, and you'll kind of see why. And then some reverb and envelope mode. Okay, so now what we do is we plug the gate out into the sync in. So what that does is every time I push a key, it resyncs the modulation oscillator to the keystroke. Our next move is our wave out goes to VCA amount in. So what that does is this voltage interacts with this voltage to create, whatever the sum of it is. And, changing this waveform actually changes how this whole thing reacts. So we'll look at that a little bit. And then here's the interesting part that I think is a typo based on what her sample patch sounds like. So we're going to go output to high pass filter. Now, as documented, we go output to cutoff in. So what that means is we are audio rate modulating the cutoff frequency, which is its own cool thing, but does not sound like what she had posted on the SoundCloud. So it, let me get this volume right here. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so you get that kind of splatty sound. Now, first of all, you hear that there's a lot of fuzziness in there, right? So what I'm thinking is, that fuzziness isn't present on the sample track. So you can do cool stuff with this, though, and I'll kind of show you. I'm going to put on the arpeggiator to kind of give it... Okay, so first of all, this rhythm controls what happens. And you get cool stuff from changing the waveform. Okay, so for now we'll leave that on a square. The other thing that happens is your envelope becomes pretty interactive. Because remember, this is the sum of a square wave, so we're getting kind of this ramp up whenever we push a note. Because we're going this speed, the attack never really gets fully engaged, so when we turn the attack down, you get that kind of... So what's happening is we're getting to the decay phase faster. Okay, now remember, this is audio rate modulation, so when we move the high pass up, we lose some lower frequencies in the modulation, some lower voltages. So something to consider here is moving this knob around and seeing what happens. And same thing with this cutoff, because we're audio rate modulating. A lot of options here. Okay, so that's the patch as documented, right? What I think happened is this was intended to go into the input, because that's like a big thing in the documentation for the Grandmother. It's like, oh, you can get two filters running. We can have a high pass and a low pass, and really shape the sound. And this does sound more like what I'm expecting. And you hear that sounds more like her example. And same thing, we can do some interesting stuff here with the two filters now. We can really thin it out. So that's kind of like, standard Moog stuff, double filter, to remove both low end and high end. And then your envelope section becomes very interactive. Okay, so I hope that gives you some ideas to play with. Really, the lesson here is, try stuff with this. I think that the intention was to have a double filter, like, input of the filter. But the audio rate modulation of the low pass is pretty cool, too. And there's something there. It's dirty, but it's, like, good dirty. And this might be the only patch I've ever turned the resonance all the way up on that I actually like. So I hope that gives you some ideas to try.